an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering The Hunger Games, Book 3, Mockingjay, Chapters 19, 20, and 21. In these chapters, the first three of Part 3, The Assassin, our friends get unwillingly dumped into battle, and we lose Boggs, which unexpectedly really hurts. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man, they say, who murdered 3. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree where dead man called out for his love to flee? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you?
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
Okay, so we're in it now.
Yeah, we are.
What did you think of these 3 chapters?
Well, I really agree about Boggs. I was surprised at how sort of choked up I got. And I think it's because, one, I wasn't expecting to lose him, so it was a little bit of a shock. And then he's been such a, like when I think of Boggs, my first thing I think is like, oh, he's such a hard ass. But there was like time and time where he came through for us multiple times. And then we have, just him having Katniss's back at every turn, really. Mm-hmm. And then at the very last minute with his last breath, like giving her the Holo. He was just a stand-up guy. And it was a bummer to see him go, especially because it happens in a moment where our guard is really down because nothing is supposed to be happening. This is a nothing thing we're doing. We're going to get some B-roll. Mm-hmm. Basically, is what we're going to get.
Yep, exactly.
And his death just is so senseless, and well, they all are, but you know what I mean, right? Like it just
comes out of left field and just hits you when you're in. It's doing the thing that I was like, oh, I'm glad they didn't interrupt the wedding, the good time of the wedding, to suddenly have a terrible thing, and we didn't. And this isn't as bad as the wedding, but we are having a moment of like bonding.
Yep.
With, like everybody's sort of letting their guard down for a second. I think that's the part that makes me the most sad, is that I imagine the kind of PTSD you would have from these sorts of experiences where you did let your guard down and let yourself relax and something like this happened, something unthinkably horrible. How do you ever let your guard down again? Like,
I don't know how we as human beings manage after the horrors that some of us are forced to deal with, Mm-hmm. I don't want to be like kind of corny here, but it really is a testament to something. I don't know what, but to something that most of us are still even, able to.
Where'd you go?
I'm sorry. Most of us can even like get through a fucking day,
Yeah.
And we have this this group of people who have all been traumatized in some way, whether it's Katniss and Finnick and Peeta and Haymitch, who were in the games, whether it's Pollux, who was the Avox. We just have all the people in 13 and what they've lived through, and we see them out. It's supposed to be kind of safe. They're actually pissy because they're not in any active combat, right?
Yeah.
And we have Boggs really like stepping up for Katniss before this happens. The way he is at the beginning when Peeta first shows up, and he's just like, "This is bullshit."
Love that.
And then like this nothing thing happens. Peeta kicks this guy off of him, and the guy lands and triggers a pod or a mine or whatever. I guess it's a pod that triggered a mine, however it works. And just like that,
Boggs triggers the mine, the pod first.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking of when the guy
into it. Yeah.
I'm thinking of the net, but yeah, Boggs just Boggs just steps on a thing and boom, it's done. So yeah.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. 19. We start with Angry Boggs, and he had gone to speak to Coin. He comes back and he's still fucking pissed. And she's like, he's going to try and kill me, like for sure. And he says, I'll keep him contained. And she says, why does Coin want me dead? And he says, she denies she does.
I love this like, so much.
Yeah, I'm sure she does. Mm-hmm. What do you think is going on?
And then he kills her.
Yeah, what do you think? This feels like a pretty like solid hypothesis.
I didn't doubt him for a second. Yeah. And I was listening. I was reading and I was like, I think he's telling her the fucking truth. Mm-hmm. He's like, which is wild considering how high ranking he is, that he would just low key betray Coin in this way. But he's just so clearly does not agree with Coin's assessment and her insecurity around Katniss. And he doesn't have any respect for it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think allows him to be, I'm just going to use the word disloyal here, but it's not a character assassination on Boggs, but you know what I'm saying, right? He breaks ranks and says, yeah, she is concerned because eventually it's going to be time to choose a new leader, right? Mm-hmm. And Katniss is like,
she's like, oh, they're going to want me to be president? Right. I'll pass.
And he's like, yeah, no. But what they will want from you is an endorsement. And what does he say? He says something like, you don't hide how you feel about her or something. You barely tolerate her.
All you've ever done is tolerate.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
I feel that in my spirit, y'all. This is why this is one of the reasons why I'm not more successful. It's not the only reason, but it's definitely not helping me in my life.
Oh, God, yeah.
I just cannot be super fake for long periods of time. Mm-hmm. I can do it in short bursts, but that's all I got in me. And I will forever suffer because you gotta know how to be and do the things and play the games and I just lack that skill set. This is not me trying to be like, oh, I'm just too real. No, I just don't have that skill set.
I really, really feel you. Yep.
You know what I mean? And I wish I did. Things would be so much easier for me, but I don't. And neither does Kat.
It's really interesting how we can be simultaneously people pleasers and unable to fake for long periods. Like, that's a really unfortunate combination.
It really, really is.
That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And it manifests like, well, I don't want to derail the whole conversation, but yeah, it does suck. It's an unfortunate combination, like you said. But so yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Katniss has an incredible amount of influence, and Coin has kind of decided or come to the conclusion that Katniss could be of more use to her personally and the cause more broadly dead. Because, she's dead, now she's a martyr. Now we don't have to deal with you as a person anymore. We needed a symbol and we had to suffer you as the person as the symbol. But we don't have to suffer the person anymore. We can just have your fucking face up and dedicate every ceremony to you and keep it moving.
Yep. Yeah, you'd be a perfect way to unify us in a whole different way after death. It would just, coming at it from another angle, but you'd continue to serve her purpose.
Yep. And she says, to Boggs, you don't owe me anything. Like why are you telling me you don't owe me this? And he says, because you've earned it.
I love him so much for
that. He says none of this shit that she's planned is going to happen on my watch. Sending Peter here to get you, that's dead. That's not happening. And what is Katniss's reaction to this, you guys?
On brand. Can't falter for that.
This train is never late. Because our girl immediately starts to think about how, God damn it. First of all, this is fucking my plan because I was going to skedaddle. I was going to steal your shit and skedaddle. And now you have complicated this. And now I owe you for saving my life again.
Yeah, that's so real. I love it so much. The fact that she's like, why do you care? And it's just, he has an answer because you've earned it is a great answer. But honestly, it was sort of funny because I'm just like, why wouldn't he just not want you to be like murdered, Kat? It's just, everything has to be so transactional so much of the time that she really can't fathom somebody just kind of thinking that's not a great thing. Like, maybe don't do that. And I hate that for her. And it's almost like once everything goes down the way that it does, it's like, oh, look, now your ledger's even. He's dead, Katniss. Now you don't have to worry about it.
I thought about that.
Are you happy now?
I thought about that too. I was like, well, you can cross that out your ledger then, no?
Right?
Debt forfeited.
So anyway, all right. But yeah, so this ends with her walking away and getting put into the rotation to watch PETA, which Jackson demanding
to be put into the rotation. Yeah.
Jackson is like, I just don't think you're going to be able to shoot PETA if it comes down to it. And she's like, the fuck I won't. And basically calls him a mutt in front of everybody. Like, she is so aggro here. Yeah. In a way that is very satisfying for her. But then when she has this conversation with Haymitch a little bit later, she is starting to be like, okay, maybe that wasn't the best. Maybe.
And other people were looking at her a little side-eyed. And she had sort of miscalculated exactly what everybody's estimation of PETA was. Like, she just kind of assumed that because he has been really terrible to her. I'm not trying to diminish that. He's been fucking awful. But as she's reminded, he saved everybody in 13. Like, if we're talking about owing debts, the people in 13 owe PETA a tremendous debt. And they also feel very sorry for him because he is, as Haymitch has to point out, he is the victim here. He is the one that's been tortured. He's the one that's had his mind hijacked. And what does Haymitch say that's like the fucking hammer? He's like, what if it were reversed? How do you think PETA would be treating you?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I think it's time you flip the tables around in your head a little bit and ask yourself, if it had been you they took and hijacked, how would he be treating you? Would it be like this? She's just like embarrassed.
She don't have shit to say.
Nope, not a bit. And
then Haymitch is just like, me and you had a deal. Why don't you try to remember that? And then I think hangs up. I don't know if
he hangs up.
Right?
He says, like, do you remember that we had a deal? And she doesn't answer. So then he just says, try to remember, and hangs up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's pissed.
Yeah. No, but this whole outburst that she has, while, like you said, it felt good to her, it doesn't go well.
No, it's just, this is the sort of thing that I really struggle with because I am a person who will say shit just to feel satisfaction in the moment. And I won't even fully understand the impact it's going to have when I say it. I don't think about it. And I will remember a week later that I said that thing and genuinely be like, oh my God, I just said that out loud. If somebody said that to me, I would crawl in a hole and die. I can't believe I just said that to somebody. Like, I really understand this impulse. I have a temper. I do. But, oh, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be really nasty and ugly, but it's rare and getting rarer as I get older. Thankfully. I used to have a real slick mouth. Ugh. It was a bad time. It was a bad time. But I'm always afraid of saying the thing that you can't take back as I get older. So that keeps me in check for most of the time.
So eventually she's talking I'm sorry, but she's talking to Gail. And she's like, I can deal with PETA. And he's like, until you take off with your little map and the holo you steal. And she's like, fuck. I really hope everybody else isn't as sharp about picking this out as he was. And I can't help but think everybody already knows. Like,
Listen,
I just picture Katniss as not sneaky.
I mean, Boggs seems to know in his dying wishes, he seems to be very clear on what she has planned.
That's an interesting point. I thought that he was just doing what he thought was going to be best for her as, like, he thought of it. But I really like the idea that he fucking knew and just preemptively is like, all right, here.
Like, what we know of her, she is not nearly as, what am I trying to say here? It's not sneaky. That's not the word I'm looking for. But she does not subtle. That's the word. She is not nearly as subtle as she seems to think she is. Her emotions are like all on her face, like we just talked about, at all times. She is used to moving in such a way where she just can kind of do what she wants, even under these circumstances. Like, even when she was in 13, right, and she had the schedule on her arm, she just fucking went wherever she felt like going, and she didn't show up for class and until the very last minute. She just kind of does what she wants to do, and very rarely is anybody there checking her. So in my imagination, as she's plotting, she's just doing it without concern for anybody else or who, you know what I mean? Because she's never has to be concerned about what anybody else is doing or watching or to see if they're clocking her at all. So, as far as I'm concerned, everybody knows that is what she's doing.
I like this.
And for all we know, I mean, Boggs doesn't say it, but for all we know, that could have lent itself to why Peeta's here. Because we know that Coin wants to kill Snow herself. So she's probably thinking, this bitch is going to get down there and try her little plan, and she's going to fuck everything up. Let me just send Peeta down there. And it's like three birds with one stone.
So she winds up Gail's like, so were you planning to bring me along? And she's like, well, it's not like I can stop you, can I? And he's like, no, you can't. And this is the Haymitch call, and he's like, are you trying to provoke him? And she says, I just want him to leave me alone. And he says, he can't. That's the whole thing. And we know probably Coin is hoping he'll kill you, but he doesn't know that's why he's here. So you're holding this against him. And she's like, I'm not. And he's like, yeah, you are. So
I really love that. I really love that reminder that Peeta doesn't understand that that's why he's here, that he's been sent here because Coin is hoping that he flips out and kills Katniss. Because it's easy to forget, and it's easy to think of this new version of Peeta, this distorted Peeta, who is so hostile and aggressive, to start viewing him as someone who is also malicious, like trying to do these things with his own internal motivation, as opposed to somebody who's just been manipulated to respond a certain way. So I really appreciated that reminder, because sometimes in my head I'll just be like, oh, Peter just on that shit, right? You know, like the first book. I'm right back at the first book. Only this time he's terrible for real. Last time I just suspicious he was terrible. Now he just is straight up terrible. But not his fault. I appreciate
the reminders of how much you distrusted him, because I keep forgetting. And you really were serious about that.
I was so serious, and I was so vindicated. The little bit that Miles did read, he was right there with me.
Yep, he was. So she takes that to heart, and there's a character named League One, which I just keep being like thrown by that.
The sisters. Yeah, there's two sisters, League One and League Two, because they look so similar. People just start calling them that.
But apparently, League One is finally coping with grief and just crying in her tent. And she says, like, to herself that I've just gotten so fixated on Snow that I have lost track of the big problem, which is getting PETA back.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even think what to do, how to begin handling that. And just kind of is up thinking about that all night. And when she gets up, PETA is awake, and he is trying to do some knots to sort of pass the time the way that she was when she was hanging out with Finnick.
I love this little detail, because I don't think we ever actually saw Finnick and PETA together doing this.
I don't think so.
So it just sort of suggests to me, I mean, I don't know for a fact, maybe PETA just saw them doing it, but I like to think that Finnick spent some time with PETA and gave him this the same way he gave it to Katniss.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. I don't know if it's real.
Buy it. So she comes over, and he says, it must have been exhausting for you, trying to decide whether to kill me or not, back and forth, back and forth. And she's like, that's never been, the only time I wanted to kill you was when I thought that you had teamed with the careers to kill me. And every day after that, I saw you as an ally. And he says, friend, lover, victor, enemy, fiance, target, mutt, neighbor, hunter, tribute, ally. I'll add it to the list of words I use to try to figure you out. The problem is, I can't tell what's real anymore and what's made up.
I love what's coming next.
Yeah.
I love it.
It turns out everybody who had been acting like they were asleep has stopped trying to pretend.
Finnick says, you should ask. That's what Annie does. And PETA is just like, who am I supposed to ask? Who can I trust? And then Jackson says, well, us, we're your squad. And PETA's like, you're my guard. And she says, yeah, that too. But you saved a lot of lives in 13, and it's not the kind of thing that we forget. And Katniss takes this moment of quiet to try to imagine, kind of like what Haymitch suggested, if the roles were reversed. And, you know, she's trying to picture, like, what would it be like if I looked at Prim or my mother and I didn't believe that they loved me? You know, if Snow was my enemy, if the person across the heater saved or sacrificed me, like, what would I do? And then PETA turns to her and says, your favorite color is green? And she's right. She goes, yeah, that's right. And then she tells PETA his favorite color.
Yeah. He's
unimpressed.
Yeah, she says orange, and he's like, doubt it, but okay. And she has to get specific about it being like sunset orange. And he closes his eyes to sort of picture it and kind of goes, okay, I could see that, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
And he says thank you to her.
Mm-hmm.
And this she starts to just vomit words.
Yeah.
And she tells them, you're a painter, you were a baker, you like to sleep with the windows open, and a couple other things. And then she just runs away before she starts to cry.
Yeah. Yep. In the morning, they're continuing to play Real or Not Real. And apparently he was told the fire was his fault. And they have to be like, nope, not that one. And sometimes they'll give like a short explanation. Sometimes they'll just be like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, this seems like a good idea until I realize that I'll be the only one who can confirm or deny most of what weighs on him. Jackson breaks us up into watches. She matches up Finnick, Gale, and me each with a soldier from 13. This way, Peeta will always have access to someone who knows him more personally. It's not a steady conversation. Peeta spends a long time considering even small pieces of information, like where people bought their soap back home. That detail got me.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
Something that small, I just had a moment of just like, Jesus, even shit like that, like that's tiring to have to be like considering all the time. Ugh, bummer.
Yeah. I'm glad that they included that detail for exactly the reasons that you say, because it's easy to get caught up in like the big moments, or the big themes. Like, did you love Katniss? Did she really love you? You caused the fire in 12 that killed everybody. But it's these little things that illuminate just how fractured his mind is.
Yeah.
And that how it's just like soup up there. All of this stuff is floating around. He doesn't know what's real and what's not. Things that are simple that you wouldn't even give a second thought to take up all this space in his brain because he can't make sense of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely detail. I'm glad they included it. But yeah, then to what you were talking about how the majority of the shit that he really needs to face is going to be centered around Katniss. What did she say? Our exchanges when they do talk are painful and loaded, even though they try to keep it superficial, like the kind of dress that she wore, that she likes a certain type of food. But even the simple shit is so hard for them to have a conversation about. It's just because they've got so much history,
Yeah.
And this whole game they're playing, she has to be so careful not to trigger a sort of violent reaction from him. So they have to tread so carefully. The whole thing sounds exhausting.
Yeah, exactly. For all parties involved. So the next day, everybody has been complaining that they're not in real combat. And it turns out this is also an issue for their camera crew because the footage is really boring. So they're like, we're going to set up a special city block that we have set aside and we'll do some like more involved shooting there and make it look like you're in battle.
They're going to bring out smoke bombs and add sound effects and shit.
This whole thing is just so like, it's so uncomfortable.
It really is. It makes me like, I know why they're doing it. I know why they have to do it, but I get so like skeeved whenever we have these like propos. It's because propaganda is skeevy, it doesn't matter like what side it's coming from. You're manipulating things in order to manipulate people, and it just makes you feel kind of gross.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just like the kind of thing that normally when I imagine filming for propaganda, I picture it happening like well away from where everything is happening. And there is something about them doing all of this like so close to real areas where, things are going to go off that it feels like disrespectful to the people around them somehow, even though it doesn't have anything to do with them. But you know what I mean? Like, you're just over here doing make-believe next to people who are really risking their lives. I don't like it. But as it turns out, they are risking their lives, so I guess it's fine.
Turns out. Unintentionally, though.
We have PETA noticing Pollux, who's an Avox. And this is horrible.
Yeah.
There were 2 Avoxes with me in prison, Darius and Lavinia, but the guards mostly called them the Redheads. They'd been our servants in the training center, so they arrested them too. I watched them being tortured to death. She was lucky. They used too much voltage and her heart stopped right off. It took days to finish him off. Beating, cutting off parts. They kept asking him questions, but he couldn't speak. He just made these horrible animal sounds. They didn't want information, they wanted me to see it.
Jesus Christ.
And he says real or not real, and nobody answers.
I love that. He's looking around. Everybody's face is like slack jaw, and he's kind of just almost, it doesn't say it, but it feels very much like he's almost like, what's wrong with everybody? Like when you tell a trauma story, you think it's funny, and everybody is looking at you like, oh my God, girl, what?
Oh, sweetie. And you're just like, why is everybody sympathetic right now?
Why isn't anyone laughing? But yeah, then he's like, real or not real, and they can't even answer. And then he starts to freak out. Like, is it real or not real? And Boggs is the one who is like, real, at least to the best of my knowledge. It's real. And then Peter says something so interesting, and I wanted someone to jump on this immediately. He says, I thought so, because there was nothing shiny about it.
Aren't you annoyed that nobody I was the same way.
I was so annoyed. And I get, like, he wanders away right after he says this, but, like, somebody could have followed him. He also, right, really, really quickly. So he says everything is shiny, and then he wanders away from the group, muttering something about fingers and toes. And I said, oh, like AI pictures.
Oh, my God.
But
are you chronically online? Is that what's happening here? My God.
But it's, don't listen. I know you hate the AI pictures.
Oh, I hate them so much.
And I stay checking for fingers. Because that's always the good giveaway. And, if they don't have fingers in the picture, then you got to look for other shit. Like, is it too smooth? Something bending in a way that it really wouldn't bend in the real world. But yeah, that's what I thought when I read that. I was like, why is she talking about fingers and toes? Just say AI.
Oh my God. That is so, I never even thought. Like, oh my God. Okay. So, but yeah, I agree about the shiny thing. Like, I just really wanted somebody to be like, what does that mean? And it does come up a little bit later.
Yeah, it took too long.
It's just, it takes a while. This is something that I was just talking about with Miles as well. There was something in one of the Sookie Stackhouse novels too, where authors will drop something like this, and it feels to me extremely unrealistic that nobody follows up and asks, what does that mean? Like, it happens a lot in fiction. And I just think it's really cheap. I don't like when this happens. It just feels like the author not wanting to deal with the thing yet and having everybody act like they're not real people for a second. This conversation taking place at a more convenient time for the story. And I just want to be like, well, then don't have them say it now. Have them say it. You can have them say it whenever. You just put it off a little bit and have that conversation feel more natural.
Especially if you're going to have a character explicitly address it. Like, it's one thing if you drop it and it's a hint, and then later on I see something and I hear somebody describe it as shiny, and then I make the connection back to what Peter had said earlier. But that's not what happens. It's just a matter of someone thinking to ask him about the shiny thing pages later.
Yes, exactly.
And then him just explaining it, which to your point could have just either happened now, or just don't mention it until you're going to have him explain it. You're not dropping a clue for me to pick up later. You're just dropping something that you intend on picking up later.
Exactly. So yeah, this whole thing, it just really like being reminded of what he went through. It's one of those things that like I feel sick to my stomach when I let myself think about it too much.
Mm-hmm.
And we only have scratched the very surface in hearing what's happened to him.
Yeah.
And I don't want any more than that.
I feel like I've got enough.
Please, I'm good.
I've got enough. I feel like I get the gist, and the gist will carry me through. I'm good. Yeah. I really am. I suspect that they're not done telling us some of the horrors, because I think we're going to have to get more of it to come out the other side, if coming out the other side is even possible. But quite frankly, I would really rather not.
Right? Yeah. Same.
And this story that Peter tells about the girl Lavinia sends Katniss into a little bit of a tailspin, because this is, of course, the girl that her and Gale had seen that day that, you know, she later met as her Avox when she was in the Capitol. So she goes to Gale for comfort, because he's going to know instinctively what this means, what hearing her name means, because they never knew her name. And she says she goes over to him and puts like her head in his chest. He puts his arm around her or whatever. And then she looks up to see what Gale's expression is to this news. And she describes his face as, his expression says that there are not enough mountains to crush, enough cities to destroy. It promises death.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I had a weird unfinished thought that I'll share with you guys. You'll pardon me because it's not finished completely, but I was thinking about Gale and Peeta through the books, right? Mm-hmm. And how they always sort of seem like on opposite sides, because when you look at it through the lens of like, these are the two guys that Katniss has to pick from. Is she going to pick column A or column B, right?
Right.
But you have a Peeta who's been chemically altered, his brain altered, his whole perception altered, who comes back as this kind of this monster, right? He's been turned into a monster by Snow and what Snow did to him actively by torture and tracker jackers and all that. And then we have Gale, who's also turning into something that some may say is like a monster. You know?
Symbolism. But yeah, I do see what you're saying there.
Yeah. And I don't really have any judgments on it yet. I don't have any judgments on Gale just yet. But, you know, but it's interesting to consider how these two men, both of who have been victimized by this oppressive regime, but one was, you know, but different in different ways. But the results are that they're both being changed, like fundamentally changed. Yeah, I don't know. It was just a thought. I really don't have anything. I don't have a neat way to sum that up.
Well, I think that was a pretty tidy comparison. Like, yeah, no, I get it. So at this point, they have to like fake desperation and stuff, and Katniss is already not excited about this, but then she finds out that she actually isn't the worst actor. There's something like really kind of reassuring about that. We're all laughing so hard at Mitchell's attempt to project his idea of desperation, which involves teeth grinding and nostrils flaring, that Boggs has to reprimand us. Pull it together, 451, he says firmly, but you can see him suppressing a smile as he's double-checking the next pod, positioning the Holo to find the best light in the smoky air, still facing us as his left foot steps back onto the orange paving stone, triggering the bomb that blows off his legs.
Yeah. That's orange, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Man, this just always gets me that I start to like grow attached to this guy and then he's taken away like this. It's just mean-spirited.
Yeah.
So yeah, Boggs reprograms the Holo so that it's only Katniss that has access to it, which
didn't see this coming
later.
Yeah. Transfers all the security clearance right to her and tells her like his dying words to do what you set out to do. But it takes like he doesn't die right away. Like there's a whole like trying to like stop the bleeding and the tourniquet and getting him out, like pulling him to safety. There's another pod that gets triggered and it pulls this big net out that catches Mitchell.
Yeah.
And this was pretty horrifying too because she's looking at him and she's like, I see him up in this giant net, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, why is there so much blood? And then she realizes that the wire, the net is actually more of like barbed wire. It's not like a traditional net, which is just like, what the fucking fuck?
Yeah.
And then there's another fucking thing that goes off and it's this, and they didn't really tell us what it is. It's just a wave of thick, black, almost tar-like substance that is probably poisonous. And that's what they're dealing with.
Yeah, later on when she encounters it, it's like a gel that doesn't even hold footprints or anything. But like, imagine seeing that just like coming down the street at you. Like, what do you do? Oh my God.
The way she describes it, she says the wave crested. I was like, I beg your pardon. A wave? Right? Oh, what now? What are we doing?
So right up until this point, like Boggs is still holding on, but she is aware. She says at one point that she knows from experience with her mother that when a pool of blood reaches a certain size, there's no going back. And the last thing he says to her is, don't trust them. Don't go back. Kill PETA. Do what you came to do. And she says, what? Boggs. And later on it's like, what did he mean? And I'm like, I feel like it's pretty clear.
Right?
I don't know why you're asking this, but that felt like he was basically just telling you what. What do you mean what? I don't know. That's just me.
I mean, yeah. What do you think he's talking about, Katniss? If you had to guess.
So at this point, she has a bit of a bumping heads with Jackson, who assumes that the Holo is now hers because she was the second in command. And Katniss has to say, no, he gave it to me. And she's like, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah, this turns into, I didn't see any, like, so in order to convince Jackson that she gets it, she has to come up with a reasonable story. So first we have Holmes co-signing that, yeah, I did see him. Boggs gave it to her. He transferred her to security. I saw him do it. And then Jackson is like, okay, well, why? And Katniss is just like, why? And she actually says, why indeed? I laughed so fucking hard. But she comes up with this story that she's on a secret mission to kill Snow, right? And the orders come directly from President Coin. And then other people, I think it's Cressida, is like,
it's Cressida.
Yeah, it happened. Plutarch did it. And I was like, what?
Yeah. And then Jackson's like, okay, why would they send PETA? And that Katniss genuinely is like, oh God, why would they? This is not, And again, Cressida says, because they know that PETA might have knowledge of the information of his like layout of his personal quarters, because that's where he was taken for the interviews with Caesar Flickerman. So he could be a guide.
This is very good thinking on your feet shit. This is very, very impressive. And Katniss is just like, I would love to ask her why she is lying for me, but now is not a great time. And so this pretty much gets everybody in line. Gale is like, well, we got to get out of here, and I'm following Katniss. So, like, if you don't want to, you can go back to camp. But either way, we got to get the fuck out of here. And they all get behind her to leave. She's like, I don't know how to lead. I don't even know how to fucking use this Holo thing. Like, I've got no instructions.
She just goes over to Jax and says, he said I could count on you.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. That's so funny to me.
It's so brilliant, though. It really
So they have to go out into the street again, and they're trying to decide which way they're going to go. And she says, we just have to go out the way that we came in. And she says, if the wave was that powerful, it may have triggered and absorbed other pods in our path. And Pollux makes a couple motions to his brother, who translates it as, oh, yeah, the cameras might also have been disabled. The lenses would be coated because of this black stuff.
Mm-hmm. Very, very smart.
Yeah. So they go out into this like kitchen door, because they're like in a building, and isn't there a mention of like the price of rent or something at one point?
There is.
Found really funny.
There is, when they get to the next place that's a lot smaller and it has that hole that they climb through to get underground.
Right.
And and it's I forget who it is, but one of them is like, oh, that must be why rent's so much cheaper here, because it only has the one bathroom and you've got workmen coming and going all the time.
Oh, that's funny. So when they're in this apartment, there is suddenly this noise and the TV turns on by itself, because the Capitol has access to your TV for these like required announcements. And it shows the footage of everything that happened and names Gale, Finnick, Boggs, Peeta, Cressida, and Katniss by name. And they assume that she is dead.
Yeah. Yeah. They're all dead.
Mm-hmm.
And, she mentions that like they wouldn't mention anybody from 13 because nobody would even know who they are or would even care about who they are. But they don't have any aerial footage. They only have the cameras that were like, I'm assuming, perched up on the various roofs and everything.
Yeah.
So they think that they also bombed the building that they had run into. That's the big noise that they had heard.
Yeah.
So between the rubble and all the other shit that went down, they're everybody's dead. And there's a thought, first everybody is like, well, this is great news. They think we're dead. They won't be looking for us for a little while. And then the reality is that their families at 13 would be watching this. And command would probably believe that they're also dead. They would have no way to let them know that they aren't, because I'm assuming communication is just completely shut. Oh, because they're not at camp. That's right. So they're not at camp, so they don't, and communication is at camp, so they have no way of letting anybody know. No, we're still here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're completely on their own. And when Gale says, "What's our next move?" Peeta says, "It's to kill me." And the next chapter begins with him just being like, guys, I literally just murdered one of our own in front of your eyes. Are you kidding? It turns out they caught him going fucking nuts on the cameras, and he saw it and is just taken so aback seeing what he was capable of. And just like, I have never seen myself like that. I had no idea. I am way too dangerous. I could go off at any second. This is way too risky. And like, honestly, his arguments do make sense, but sorry, Peeta, as much as that makes rational sense, absolutely fucking not.
Yeah. He says, you can't take me with you. It's a matter of time before I kill someone else. Maybe you think it's kinder to just dump me somewhere and let me take my chances, but that's the same thing as just handing me back over to the Capitol. Do you think you'd be doing me a fucking favor? Just kill me now, please. Yeah. This whole outburst from him makes Katniss think of that song, the Hanging Tree song in the last stanza. And we have Gale saying to Peeta that, don't worry, I'll kill you before that happens. I fucking promise.
Yeah. I really like, I told you about how there's 2 different versions, and the one that I use for the theme song, just like briefly, I'm going to sing how she does it in the audiobook, because I actually prefer this, guys, and I'm curious if I'm alone in this, but it's, are you coming to the tree, wear a necklace of rope side by side with me? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met up at midnight in the hanging tree. I can't even go that low. But I really like that version. And
that's the version from the audiobook?
Yeah, but the version that I use from the movie is totally different tune. And it's good, like it's a beautiful song, but I just I don't know, I kind of like this one a little bit better. I'm sort of like, hey, can we get Tatiana on and an album real quick? She's got a pretty, a strong makeshift voice. Kind of voice that's not showy, but has a power to it.
I know what you mean.
She just does a nice job.
I keep forgetting that she does the audiobooks.
I'm trying to get that. All right.
And so Peeta is begging for one of the poison pills. He feels very cheated that he doesn't have one. And meanwhile, Katniss has got 2, because there's one in her Mockingjay suit, which is at camp, but she's got one in her breast pocket as well. So that's handy.
And then Gale says, I'll kill you before that happens. I promise. It's no good. What if you're not there to do it? So yeah, that's why he asked for the night block. It's not about you, I say. We're on a mission and you're necessary to it. So they leave this for now. And they're going through this apartment's food sources.
I love that.
And there's canned goods, cookies.
They're all stashed away though. Yeah. It's Micella, who used to live in an apartment that was almost exactly the same as this one that they're in now, and he's the one that makes the comment about the rent as well. But it says that the hoarding started before the quarter quell. People started stocking up on scarce supplies. The people in 13 are outraged, by the way. They're like, isn't this illegal?
Right. It should be, shouldn't it? Hoarding resources.
Should be. Micella says, to the contrary, in the Capitol, you would be considered stupid not to do it, which is also interesting. Wouldn't you say?
Looks at camera.
And then when he says the thing about people starting to stock up on scarce supplies, somebody from 13 says, yeah, while others went without. And Micella just says, yeah, that's how it works here. Yeah. Yep. So they, but there's a nice sketch of
limbs to you guys.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
I think that I'm just having an out of proportion response to this because food is my love language.
The fact that he remembered it's her favorite, it speaks to a part of him that can think of her and memories of her without flipping the fuck out. So I think it's pretty significant. And this, of course, sends her, down memory lane. And she eats that, and they're eating cookies, and then the screen comes on. And this is when they see they start with the four faces, and this is when Snow, because the first announcement was just like a general announcement, and said that President Snow would be making a more detailed announcement at later time. So then that's what this is, and he shows up on TV with his fucking white rose and his lapel, which I really don't like the way this book is making me think about white roses.
Right?
It's really
ruining it.
It's kind of ruining it.
Agreed.
And the man himself appears, seated at his desk, a flag draped behind him. I say to that. I think he may have had some work done recently. His lips are puffier than usual. And his prep team really needs to use a lighter hand with his blush.
Amazing.
It is pretty good. So,
I
yeah.
don't know what that is, though. Like, because it doesn't sound like he would be getting work done during all this. Is he, like, bloated? If they're overdoing it on blush, is he, like...
Maybe he's...
ill? Like,
maybe he's sick. Maybe
all those bloody sores in his mouth are getting...
I mean, maybe, like, we learned, like, what caused the sores, right? Who told us that? It was Finnick, right?
Oh, yeah. It's
right?
His one-on... I was going to say one-on-one, but there's nobody on the camera with him. He's just, like, solo performer there, I think.
Right? So maybe he's still doing that behavior. And maybe it's starting to wear on him. Like, maybe he's dying. Wouldn't that be nice?
I don't know, because you said that if Katniss doesn't kill him, you're going to be real mad. If he just dies of natural causes, it wouldn't really be natural causes.
Yeah, right.
I swallowed lots of poison over the course of decades, I guess.
Hoisted on his own baton. Yeah, not nearly as satisfying as if she fucking puts an arrow in his head. But I would take it at this point. But yeah, he comes on and he gives the show and really has some damning things to say about our girl. Some real cheap shots.
It's really funny because he's just like, good job getting rid of her, and she was nobody and unstable, and she just got people's attention because of the games, but they don't have a real leader. And then Coin's here. Yep. I'm the leader of the rebellion. Hello. And I was just like, oh, that sucks. No, sorry about it. But that's hilarious.
It's hilarious, except for then she does the eulogy for fucking Katniss.
Yes.
Praise for the girl who survived the Seam and the Hunger Games, then turned a country of slaves into an army of freedom fighters. Dead or alive, she will remain the face of this rebellion. And Katniss is like, I had no idea how much I meant to her. Which nobody thinks is funny except Gail.
I was like, do they not get it? I guess they don't get it.
No, I don't think they get it. I don't think that for the rest of the soldiers, it would even occur to them that Coin sent in Peeta specifically to get rid of Katniss. Like Boggs, which is what makes Boggs so extraordinary, to be able to see that truth and still be a part of this cause and believe in it and not like completely lose faith in the whole operation because one person made a bad judgment call. Mm-hmm, but the rest of the soldiers, like, I don't think it would even occur to them to think that of their leader, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love that when it comes back to Snow, he's described as very controlled, which for me always is like, that's the way you say absolutely fucking enraged.
Yep.
And she's like, yeah, I think that he thought that this emergency channel was like impenetrable.
Someone will end up dead tonight because it was breached. And I believe it.
Oh, yeah.
He fucking went into a fit as soon as that camera went off. Who the fuck was in charge of the fucking security? Oh yeah. That's how they started my job.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. something gets fucked up when they don't think, you're not supposed to be able to hear them, but you can hear them through the office doors. Uh-oh. That's what I say. Uh-oh. And then it reminds me not to curse so loud even when my office door is closed, because you can still hear that shit. Like, note to self. Note to self.
There was a reductress headline years ago that said, girl wearing headphones not farting as quietly as she thinks she is. I just think about that sort of thing all the time when it comes to that. Oh no. So when it comes back to Snow, he says when we pull her body from the ashes, we'll see exactly who she is. A dead girl who could save no one, not even herself. And I was like thinking to myself, being like she couldn't save anyone implies they needed saving from you. Like, that's not a great line.
Sure does.
I feel like you really should have workshopped that a little bit more. Sure does. You sound like,
Especially because Coin never says anything about Katniss having saved anybody. What Coin says is she turned a country of slaves into an army of freedom fighters. Mm-hmm. So he just leans right into that.
Yeah.
Just tells on himself in a way that I don't think he intended on saying, because that's how fucking frazzled he was. And then it's just seal, anthem, and out.
So she asks the group ideas on where we should head out, to, what direction we should go. And Finnick's like, let's rule things out. No street. League One says no rooftops. Holmes says we could withdraw and go back the way we came, but that means a failed mission. And she's like, oh, well, you guys weren't supposed to come with me anyway, so you don't have to. And they're just like, we're obviously coming with you. Come on. What do you do? And at this point, Gale says underground. And she's just like, fuck, that is our only option, but I fucking hate this.
Yeah.
It's just too much like dying in a mine.
Yeah, and because of that too, tactically, of course, it has to be underground, and Gale is so practical that he's the one that's on it. But part of me was like, I wonder, Gale he doesn't want to be underground either.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Especially after the fucking thing with the nut.
Mm-hmm.
His whole idea. Oh man. So they head out and they find this path. What?
I just remembered Austin's comment about busting a nut. I'm sorry.
For those not in our patrons only Facebook group, that's where that was at.
My deepest apologies. Really, it's Austin's fault. I don't have to apologize. That is 100% Austin. And he has to take the fall for that. It's not my joke.
Austin, plus 10 points for the Austin's Info Corner on Song of Ice and Fire, minus 5 points for the Bust a Nut joke. Present balance, 5 points. You're on thin ice, sir. All right, so again, we have the whole thing with PETA being like, all right, we're making a move, then give me a pill. I'm not going unless you give me one. And Jackson says that's not an option. Come on. And he's like, or what? What are you going to do? Are you going to shoot me? I keep asking you to. What a bummer. We'll knock you out and drag you with us, which will both slow us down and endanger us. Stop being noble. I don't care if I die. Katniss, please, don't you see I want to be out of this? The trouble is, I do see. Why can't I just let him go? Slip him a pill, pull the trigger. Is it because I care too much about PETA? Or too much about letting Snow win? Have I turned him into a piece in my private games? That's despicable, but I'm not sure it's beneath me. I thought that was a really interesting insight.
Yeah, she has those moments, man, doesn't she?
She does her shadow work.
And That bitch live in the shadows.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, no, this is a really, really interesting moment. And what she ends up coming to, she also says this devastating line, if it's true, it would be kindness to kill Peter here and now, but for better or worse, I am not motivated by kindness.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
Jeesh. Yeah. So she doesn't really it doesn't come to like a conclusion on where she stands with all this, but she's definitely thinking about it and trying to parse out like what the deal is here, what's going on with her. And I think really it's not as complicated as she might be making it seem. She cares a great deal for Peter, even this version of Peter, this who has suffered so much. And of course she doesn't want to see him die, and of course she's not going to kill him. Like, it's not that fucking complicated, I don't think.
Yeah, it's you. Candace, you love him,
right? Like,
you love him, and you don't want to hurt him, even though that might be what he wants, because you love him. Do you not know? Of course, she doesn't. She doesn't know what love is. It's just real Jerry Seinfeld. What is this salty dish? So anyway, they give Katniss the key to his cuffs because there's a moment of like, should we free his hands? And instantly Peeta's like, absolutely not.
And the Katniss is right behind him. No, you most certainly will not.
When we go down the maintenance shaft, we encounter another problem. There's no way the insect shells will be able to fit through the narrow passage. Castor and Pollux remove them and detach emergency backup cameras. Each is the size of a shoebox and probably works about as well. Masala can't think of anywhere better to hide the bulky shells, so we end up dumping them in the closet. Leaving such an easy trail to follow frustrates me, but what else can we do?
Yeah, there's a whole bit too about trying to like clean the apartment so there's not much trace of them. You know, so they get all the empty trash away. Everywhere that they bled, they tried to cover up and flip cushions over and shit like that. The door's fucked up from when they broke in, but it has one lock that still works, so they just use that and hope for the best.
So they go down into this tube and gather up at the foot of the ladder, and she notices Pollux is really freaking out a little bit. He's having a panic attack. And Castor says, my brother worked down here after he became an AVOX. Took 5 years before we were able to buy his way up to ground level. Didn't see the sun once.
My God. And this is like, so what we know about being an AVOX, the little that I remember anyway, is that it is a crime for treason, usually, right? People who try to escape and or who run afoul of the order of things, you know.
Right.
But the two that I met were working in the Capitol, serving tributes. Darius being put there, you know, specifically to rattle them, but the other girl, Lavinia, that was just her job, and they were servers on the train as well. So I think I had made some assumptions about what your life was like once that happened to you. It didn't occur to me that they would be used as labor in all these different ways.
Yeah.
You know, but it makes perfect sense that they would. And then this idea of being able to buy someone out of that, I didn't think was possible either. I thought it was much more like a prison sentence.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that once the state handed it down, that was just that. So I don't know if probably won't need to get any more into detail because it's such a small thing, but I was really curious about this situation. 5 years to buy him out. What are you talking about? How?
Yeah.
What happened?
It's almost like bail or something. Like maybe like it may have been kind of a prison sentence in a way. Maybe everybody down there isn't an AVOX. I don't know how that works.
Yeah. I had a question about and this is like world building stuff that you know, the story has got to be told and you can't stop and fill in every crack, but this was just one of those things where I was like, oh, I would really like to know a little bit more about this part of this world, you know?
Yeah.
Even though it's horrible, I probably don't want to spend too much time with it, but I just was very curious.
So I love that at this point, everybody doesn't like know what to say except for PETA, who says, well, then you just became our most valuable asset. Castor laughs and Pollux manages a smile. We're halfway down the first tunnel when I realize what was so remarkable about the exchange. PETA sounded like his old self, the one who could always think of the right thing to say when nobody else could. Ironic, encouraging, a little funny, but not at anyone's expense.
That's such a good way to be. Those are such great qualities in a person.
Yep. And she looks back and sees him hunched, so dispirited, but for a moment he was really here. And that line kind of got to me.
Yeah.
He flickers in and out, you know. So, yeah, Pollux is indeed very helpful with, like, leading them around. And there are pods, like, you know, under there with them. During the day, they are deactivated, but at night, it's a minefield. However, hundreds of additional passages, utility shafts, train tracks, drainage tubes. Pollux knows details that would lead to disaster for a newcomer, like which offshoots might require gas masks or have live wires or rats the size of beavers. He alerts us to the gush of water that sweeps through the sewers periodically, anticipates the time the Avoxes will be changing shifts, leads us into damp, obscure pipes to dislodge the nearly silent passage of cargo trains. Most important, he has knowledge of the cameras. There aren't many down in this gloomy, misty place, except in the transfer, but we keep well out of the way. And they do this for 6 hours, which just blows my mind. I mean, my God. So finally, it's 3 a.m, and she suggests that they take a rest. Pollux finds a small, warm room humming with machines loaded with levers and dials. Do you say levers or levers?
I say levers.
Yeah, me too. But I always have the urge to say levers. And he says that they've got 4 hours. So they go down and she's like, oh God, because she gets woken up and it's just like, I just fell asleep. Jackson tells me to eat a can of food and keep an eye on Pollux, who's insisted on being in guard the entire night. He can't sleep down here, which sucks.
Yeah.
I really feel for Pollux. This is just so awful to be put in this position.
I can't believe that they have to live down there, like 5 years without any fucking sun. And she theorizes to herself that Pollux has been up all night just reliving those years of imprisonment. Like, you know, PTSD. You know, he's just down there suffering, back in his worst nightmare, like plopped back down into like the worst 5 years of his entire life. And he's back there. And it's kind of like low key by choice this time though. Yeah. So
she looks over and sees that Pete is awake, and she can't think of anything to say, so she just is like, have you eaten yet? Which is always a safe plan. Gives him a can of chicken soup. And then she says, Peeta, when you asked about what happened to Darius and Lavinia, and Boggs told you it was real, you said you thought so because there was nothing shiny about it. What did you mean? Oh, I don't know exactly how to explain it, he tells me. In the beginning, everything was just complete confusion. Now I can sort certain things out. I think there's a pattern emerging. The memories they altered with the Tracker Jacker venom have this strange quality about them, like they're too intense, or the images aren't stable. You remember what it was like when we were stung? Trees shattered. There were giant colored butterflies. I fell in a pit of orange bubbles. I think about it. Shiny orange bubbles. Right. But nothing about Darius or Lavinia was like that. I don't think they'd given me any venom yet. Well, that's good, isn't it? If you can separate the two, then you can figure out what's true. Yes, and if I could grow wings, I could fly. Only people can't grow wings. Real or not real? Real, but people don't need wings to survive. Mockingjays do. He finishes the soup and returns the can to me. And I was just like, I feel like you really think you said something there, but that's not it.
Right. I love when she gives him a can of soup. She keeps the lid in case he wants to slice his wrist open. I thought she was going to say in case he tried to like attack me with it, but she's like, no, in case he tries to slit his wrist.
So this is the point where she reaches out and touches him for the first time.
Yeah.
And he says, you're still trying to protect me. Real or not real? Real, I answer. Because that's what you and I do. Protect each other. After a minute or so, he drifts off to sleep. Progress.
A little bit. Mm-hmm. Brushing the hair off of his forehead. He freezes but doesn't recoil. It's little steps, y'all. It's little steps.
Mm-hmm. So then it's wake up time for real. And they're all sort of like getting adjusted, sitting up. And then she hears this weird noise. And it's described almost like a hissing. Perhaps it's only steam escaping, a pipe, or the far off whoosh of one of the trains. I hush the group to get a better read on it. There's a hissing, yes, but it's not one extended sound. More like multiple exhalations that form words. A single word. Echoing throughout the tunnels. Katniss. And that
I don't like this.
Chapter.
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Like,
that's a good question.
Someone please tell me what the fuck is this? Is something coming? Something creepy crawly coming that can speak? Like a different type of mutation or something? I mean, I just like, I don't know. Like I guess nope. I don't know. She has to make everybody in the room be quiet so that they can hear it, right? Mm-hmm. So that, and she says maybe it's a far off whoosh of the train. So that makes it sound like it's definitely coming from outside of the little cubby that they're in. But like if it was in the room, she would just be able to look and be like, oh, it's just so-and-so saying my name weird for some reason. But that's not the energy here. This is, I don't know what this is. I don't like it.
Right. Put your book down. I'm going to read you the first 2 paragraphs of the next chapter. Just these 2 paragraphs.
All right.
The grace period has ended. Perhaps snow had them digging throughout the night. As soon as the fire died down, anyway. They found Boggs' remains, briefly felt reassured, and then, as the hours went by without further trophies, began to suspect. At some point, they realized they had been tricked, and President Snow can't tolerate being made to look like a fool. It doesn't matter whether they tracked us to the second apartment or assumed we went directly underground. They know we are down here now, and they've unleashed something. A pack of mutts, probably, bent on finding me. Katniss. I jump at the proximity of the sound, look frantically for its source, bow loaded, seeking a target to hit. Katniss. Peeta's lips are barely moving, but there's no doubt the name came out of him.
Wait.
Just when I thought he seemed a little better, when I thought he might be inching his way back to me, here is proof of how deep Snow's poison went. Katniss. Peeta's programmed to respond to the hissing chorus, to join the hunt. He's beginning to stir. There's no choice. I position my arrow to penetrate his brain. He'll barely feel a thing. Suddenly, He's sitting up, eyes wide in alarm, short of breath. Katniss! He whips his head toward me, but doesn't seem to notice my bow, the waiting arrow. Katniss, get out of here!
Oh, you're gonna just stop there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's not cool.
That's that.
Well, what the fuck? That just leaves me more befuddled.
I was hoping that was the case, yes. I thought, if you thought I meant to clarify things,
no,
I apologize for misleading you.
Yeah. That was my mistake. that was my mistake. So, all right, let's just recap the two paragraphs. Mm-hmm. So, it wasn't Peeta saying it the whole time. He just joined in on it. Is that right? Or was it him the whole time and she just didn't realize it was coming from him?
He joined in.
So something is coming. And he knows it's coming. He knows what it is. That means it's terrible. If he knows what it is. Her idea that the cat is out of the bag. And that the Capitol realizes that they are in fact not dead, and they have sent something down into the sewers after them. Which I don't even like that sentence, even though I'm the one who said it. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah,
is it going to be like giant sewer snakes?
I had a moment of like, really, they've got time. They've got time. And it's just over so fast.
No time. They had like a couple hours of a breather that they spent in the sewers. And it turns out it's not even safe enough. Oh, you guys. And we don't hardly have anything left. The book's almost over.
Yeah.
And things still
move fast.
Things are still like not great.
Indeed.
They are not great in my professional estimation. We have live reads next week, right?
Yeah. So I'll tell you all that Rashawn is going to read 22, 23, 24.
Now, let me write that down. I mean, I have it on the doohickey, but I want to make my note to stop at 20. Make sure I don't read 25, even though I normally would. I normally wouldn't because that's more than 3 chapters, but I'm going to make a note anyway. Okay.
25, I'm genuinely like so interested to see how you feel about it. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to it in like, the way that you look forward to something that is not just,
awesome.
It's just layered, like it's layered. It's not, I don't want to give anything away, but it's just like the sort of thing that you're going to have more than one feeling about.
Oh, no, but I don't want to have feelings. I definitely don't want to have more than one of them.
I bet you'll be texting me as you read these 3 chapters, though, because these 3
are
pretty intense.
Shit. I might text. Yeah. I'm going to read this shit first thing in the morning.
They're intense. Yeah.
Before I read Song of Ice and Fire. First thing when I wake up. I might finish after tonight. Since we started it, I might as well just go ahead and finish it real quick.
Oh God, it's happening. All right, so that's the end of the chapter. Rashawn's going to read first thing tomorrow morning, and probably try and talk to me about it before we start even recording. And
I probably will. You probably will.
She's going to be like, but I want to talk about it. Oh, me too. That's the way that I talk when it's just me and Rashawn. My voice is completely different. It's really weird. I sound like Goofy for some reason.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine if you met an actor or a podcaster and their voice was absolutely completely different? That'd be so weird. Like,
oh my God.
I know voice actors can do that, but that's like
sure. That's a different thing though. I'm just talking about like regular people, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. So first thing we've got to do is haven't done this one in a while. So this week we've got Katie Rose Diet or Diet, not sure how to say it, but you know who you are. Allegra Lundy, Zipporah R. Lederman, and Lynn Ashmore. Thank you all so much for becoming patrons and supporting the show. It means a lot. It is crucial to keeping things going. And by things, I mean me and also Rashawn, because she gets some of this money as well. And I just really want everybody out there who throws us money on the monthly just to know that it's important. I know it may not seem like that much to you, but added together, it just really, really changes our lives.
Y'all out here changing lives.
Very literally.
Literally.
You're like my hype man right now.
Couldn't get it out. But I need people to understand that y'all are doing the Lord's work. Because I don't know if y'all have heard, but things are hard. I don't know if y'all are. Have you heard? Has anyone mentioned it to you? Like,
for a minute, eggs were about $35.
Listen.
Oh God!
Cereal is like $11 a box.
It is wild, the price of things. Like, you guys, a pound of butter, we're looking at like $6, $7 for like, if you want store brand, you could get about $5 maybe, depending. But like, butter is just, I mean, oh my God, I just can't. You guys, some of the basics. Of course, when we're talking about basics, it's so appropriate that you go for cereal and I go for butter. You know?
It's very on brand, right?
Yeah, you're going for the thing that you can make a meal out of instantly. No trouble. Just add milk. That's it.
You're going for the thing that's part of the thing that you have to add to the other things to make the thing.
Yeah. I'm like, no, you need the foundational fat. And then you add your ingredients and saute them gently. Rashawn's crunching on her cereal. This all sounds fascinating. I'm full. Enjoy cooking for another 45 minutes. I can't help who I am.
Steve just reminded me that we had cereal this very day. He was like, don't forget you have cereal in there. I bought you some new milk. I was like,
I'm so jealous. I can't even tell you. I am genuinely jealous right now. I can't keep it in the house. I'll eat half the box and I won't even notice. It's just gone. Like, it's a real treat.
What kind of cereal do you like that you eat all half a box?
Honey Bunches of Oats.
Bitch!
That's the one.
That's my cereal that I have right now.
Yeah.
That is my jam.
Classic.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. Owen can't have almonds, so we have to get the one without almonds. But I do like the one with almonds.
I get the one with almonds.
Yeah, it's better, but we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah, it sacrifices you make for your loved ones.
Indeed.
But
I will fuck up.
Did we do an Unsober about cereal?
I'm pretty sure we did.
We had to have, right?
Positive we did. Yeah. Hold up. I'm gonna go check now because I'm just curious if it's gonna pop up on my little search here. But it feels like something that had to have come up in the early days because that's such a gimme. Yeah,
I think you're right.
Oh my God. There are some Unsobers on here that I had forgotten. The brand mascots one. That's a good episode.
That was so. We were trying to. We never got past McDonald's. We were going to do it. Did we do part 2 ever?
I feel like we did.
I think we did too, but I think it was a lot more McDonald's content.
the guys, we really went down this rabbit hole about brand mascots that it turned out there was so much more to McDonald's mascots than just Ronald McDonald or even like Hamburglar. And
there was a whole fucking canon. It is just It was nuts how involved it was. It was learning the names, like the full names of everybody.
And we found some of like the photos of their original costumes that were the creepiest things you have ever seen. Ronald McDonald had like a cup for a nose, like a paper cup, just like with an elastic band, like just around his head. Honestly.
It was a wild episode.
Yeah, things were really. I
might go re-listen to it.
Drugs back in the day. That's
clearly, clearly, when you look
high as a kite with that cup on his nose.
Sometimes you just have to look at something and you go, "Well, cocaine. It'll do it every time. Do it every time."
Oh man, I just like searched it and it's not popping up, but I could swear we did it.
Oh, it feels like something we would have done, but if you can't find evidence, then maybe we'll just throw that on the list.
Yeah, I'm gonna look on like my Patreon collection as well. But we do have an Unsober coming up this Saturday. I say that tomorrow. That is about bowling.
Yay!
I had intended to go bowling before this episode, so that I knew anything about it. Because I haven't played it in so long.
Now you played it. You haven't played bowling?
What do you call it?
You go bowling. Or you bowl.
All right, so I haven't gone.
I haven't gone bowling. Haven't been bowling. I haven't bowled in so long. You gotta play bowling.
Divisive fucking attitude. Jesus Christ. Yep. Unsober cereal. We did it in 2020.
Oh my God. We've been doing Unsober that long?
It says, get ready for the end of this episode, which was really silly and contained a lot of giggling. Rashawn and I were both in rare form that night, apparently. I am going to re-listen to this. This episode, we talk about the perfect food for when you're depressed, when you're stoned, or when you just don't want to friggin' cook. There's nothing like it for that perfect balance of crispness, creaminess, although there are some that are much better than others. You'll be surprised to hear what some of America's favorite cereals are. Oh, that's right. I went through a list that were like the top selling cereals, and a few of them we were like, really?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I got some Reese's Pieces cereal in there too.
Oh, I've never had any of the like candy-based cereals.
Though that one is one that is often on sale. And Steve can't resist it. And there was a period where I was going through like a smoothie and a milkshake phase, which I'm going to go get back to this summer. And he would make me a milkshake and put that Reese's Pieces cereal in that shit. Oh my God. It was so good. It was so good. Because it's just puffed peanut butter and chocolate cereal. That's all it is. It just puffs. Put that shit in. Oh man. What?
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
So it's Reese's Pieces, but it also has chocolate puffs because Reese's Pieces is just peanut butter with a candy shell, right?
It has. Well, I say chocolate because the puffs are brown and orange. Because you know how Reese's are brown and orange, so maybe chocolate is the wrong word, but I just say that because they're brown puffs. But if I could, I would get up and go get the box and read it to you. But I'm not going to do all that.
Maybe it's Reese's Cup cereal. Is it Reese's Pieces for sure?
You know what? Now I don't know. Maybe it's Reese's Peanut Butter Cup cereal. That would make more sense. Chocolate and peanut butter that way, right?
Yeah, I guess it would. Because I'm thinking like Reese's Pieces are already the shape of cereal, so that makes more sense. But why would that even matter? That's irrelevant.
It's already the shape, so it can't be a cereal.
I'm just gonna fucking pour Reese's Pieces into a bowl and pour milk on it, and just be like, "What cereal?" I heard it's delicious.
I would eat that.
I don't judge you for that one at all. All right. Anyway, guys, like if you want more content like that we just did, you should just get the higher level support for Unsober because there's a lot of Unsober episodes at this point. And Rashawn and I just talk about whatever. And I will tell you what, kids, we are very funny when we talk about whatever. Just like some of our best work. According to the thingy here, it says that there are 129 unsobers.
Oh my God.
So you've got a fucking backlog
Holy
if you sign up for this
shit.
level, guys. Yeah.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
I know.
You guys, some of the shit that we've talked about over the years, we had that whole episode about Oreos. What were you thinking?
Oh my God, we ate them on the air. People with misophonia must have been ready to throw up. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Yeah, like 30 different I went out and bought like 8 packages of different flavored Oreos, and I'll never forget, Steve just came in and he was like, so
finally cracked.
It went on for like 30 seconds until finally he got the words. So, what's with all the Oreos? And I had to say back. I said back with a straight face, "It's for the podcast." And he gave me this fucking look I'll never forget. Because that is nonsense. That's a nonsense sentence. What is with all the Oreos? It's for the podcast. That's nothing.
Oh my God. I'm just picturing you like barely able to see the top of your head and eyes from behind the pile of Oreos and going like, it's for the podcast with this like frenetic manic energy because you're on this sugar high or you're stoned or whatever. And he's just like, yeah, sure it is.
He was, I have never seen him so perplexed about what it is that you and I do. He was just could not wrap his. Are you going to eat them? And I was like, well, it's like, maybe, yeah. But why would people want to? Why? He was so confused.
I remember there was like a pretty busy chat for that one too.
Oh yeah, we had a pretty good audience that joined us for that. And we had the crazy, because, I don't know if you guys know, I don't even know if Oreo still does it, but for a while, man, they had all of those different flavors. They were going just wall to wall bonkers with the different flavors. They
have really cooled their jets on that, haven't they?
They have. The last couple of times I was in the supermarket, which is not often, because you guys know I don't fuck around like that. But I remember walking by,
like being in a suit.
Oh yeah, no, that's not where you find me. Every once in a while, I get wrangled into helping grocery shopping. It is not my favorite thing.
It fucking sucks.
It is the worst,
sucks.
And because I go do the grocery shopping so rarely, I have sticker shock every time because I never get accustomed to it. So I spend the whole trip going, "Oh my God, look at how much this costs."
It's bringing my dad shopping.
It is. It's bad, dude. It's bad.
Oh man. I'm looking back. The first Unsober episode we ever did was April 20th, 2018.
I remember the topic.
What?
The very first Unsober we did was like being homesick.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
You are correct. Number 2 was weddings because I was planning the wedding. So I thought for 2020.
I was going to say you were planning the wedding that early. I forgot about the postponement. I completely forgot about that.
And then number 3, British monarchy because that was the royal wedding.
Oh, right.
And then we've got summertime.
Oh, I love summertime.
Ice cream. Pet peeves. We did one on fascinating womanhood, that fucking book. Oh, that was good shit.
Oh, that's right. I remember now. It took me a second. My brain was like, what? But yeah, I remember that now.
Oh, that's right. We did one on The Exorcist because you found out I had never seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've done a couple on movies because...
Yeah, every once in a while there'll be something. We just did Zoolander not too long ago because you wanted me to see that.
I really did. Rashawn was really like, why? But I stand by it. It's a classic.
I think I wasn't properly altered to really enjoy it. I think that's where I went wrong.
I mean... I wasn't altered when I watched it the first time, and it carried me away. A wave of laughter. So I don't know. But anyway, all right. We have spent like 20 minutes not talking about Hunger Games. Apologies, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our little non sequitur. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Are you coming to the tree where dead man called out for his love to flee? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.